Greetings, Honky Tonkers. It's Daniel Kremer for Trailers from Hell, and we're going to be heading down the freeway today with John Schlesinger's Americana comedy, Honky Tonk Freeway. I was privileged to provide the audio commentary track on the recent Blu-ray release of the film with my friend Nat Sigalov and producer Don Boyd. This is the Blu-ray that we worked on. And Don Boyd is actually a very interesting filmmaker in his own right. I'm going to be talking about that. But in terms of the cast, let's start with Beau Bridges, Teri Garr, Beverly D'Angelo, Geraldine Page, Hume Cronin, Jessica Tandy, William Devane, and Daniel Stern. And you've got to love Daniel Stern in this movie, who's heading to the Super Bowl to sell some cocaine. And there's more. And I've described this movie often as part Robert Altman, part Michael Ritchie, and all John Schlesinger. And many consider this the odd entry in the Midnight Cowboy director's filmography. And I'm going to be talking about why. So something funny is happening on this freeway. Get off on it. Roll that trailer.
The town of Tickle does not qualify for an exit.
If you thought Heaven's Gate was the biggest box office bomb of its era, here's the comedy version. In 1981, Honky Tonk Freeway brought in only $2 million on a $25 million budget. In 2022 dollars, that's $6 million in box office on an $80 million budget. An additional $5 million had been spent on advertising, a huge, gigantic loss. Critics hated it and audiences stayed away in droves.
Acid butt.
Okay, so that was then. What about now? Does the film have any redeeming value? It depends on who you ask. John Schlesinger swore to his dying day that he wouldn't change a frame of the film. He remained defiant, though in certain company he would jokingly refer to it as Wanky Wank Freeway. I have a very twisted, cockeyed sense of humor, so I kind of get a kick out of the film myself, though I can definitely understand why others think it's a mess. The story is a fairly easy elevator pitch. A podunk Florida town is denied an exit ramp from the new interstate freeway, so they resort to rather desperate means to lure Florida-bound travelers into their little would-be tourist trap. They literally paint the town pink, offer free gas, train an elephant to water ski, set up an open-air wildlife park, and dabble in a little non-lethal terrorism. Among the travelers are two bickering nuns, an elder salesman and his alcoholic wife, a songwriter trucker transporting a rhinoceros, a bungling pair of bank robbers, a Xerox repairman come subversive children's book author, a fast and loose blonde, a Winnebago family, a wired coke dealer, a smooth pimp with a kind of harem on wheels, and many others. This really put Schlesinger into director's jail, and his career didn't recover until almost 5 years later with The Falcon and the Snowman, a radically different kind of movie. Schlesinger spent the early 80s in a return to British television, where he helmed one of his most acclaimed works, a telefilm called An Englishman Abroad. He would never again achieve the commercial heights of Midnight Cowboy, Marathon Man, or Darling, but some of his later post-Honky Tonk Freeway pictures were not without some interest. I'm especially fond of Madame Susatska and Cold Comfort Farm. There are some memorable images in Honky Tonk Freeway, many of them featuring an unruly rhino, and you can see the money on screen. The issue is that the humor and the overall construction were just too idiosyncratic, offbeat, and out there for anything even approaching a mainstream audience. I want to give a shout out to William Devane. I've always really liked him as an actor, whether in a serious role like in Rolling Thunder, then in this big satirical Cherry Bomb. He was versatile and never got the credit he deserved.